Yswyddogion. Good afternoon and welcome members and officers to today's Cabinet Scrutiny Subcommittee. We got apologies for absence today received from Councillor Phil Rogers and Councillor Carol Clement Williams. For the purposes of declarations, I'd like to confirm that we'll be scrutinising, we will not be scrutinising any items from the Cabinet papers today. So we're going to move on to agenda item 2, which are the declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest, please?
I can see no indications, Chair.
Thank you, Alison. Moving on to agenda item 3, which are the minutes of the previous meeting. Minutes are attached to pages 5 and 12 of the agenda pack. If you feel that these are an accurate record of the meetings, can I please have a proposer?
I move, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Percy. And could we have a seconder, please? Yeah. I'll second the minutes then. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 4, which is succession planning. These can be found on pages 13 to 40. And this report is for noting. I will now hand you over to Sheena Rees, who will go through the presentation for the members and officers. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Pnawn good afternoon, everybody. So before we make a start, I just wanted to explain that the question I understand that you've, as a committee, have posed to me is, what are we doing to mitigate against the risks associated with succession planning across the council? So the answer to that question is there isn't one thing that we're doing. We're doing lots of different things. And that's best described to you via the Council's Strategic Workforce Plan, the Future of Work strategy. So that strategy is aimed at making sure we've got the right people in the right place with the right skills, the right attitudes at the right time, doing what we need them to do. So the presentation that I'm going to give you this afternoon is an overview of the Strategic Workforce Plan. There are two things that I'm going to focus on in this presentation. So one of them is in relation to resourcing Neath Talbot. So how are we seeking to recruit people into the council? The other thing that I'm going to focus on is the succession planning toolkit. But I'm also going to give you an overview of the whole strategic workforce plan, because I think you need to see all of it to understand everything that we're trying to do. So I'm joined today by a few colleagues. So I'm going to ask them to present themselves to you so that you know who's in the room, and they'll be helping me with the presentation and also answering any questions. So Amy.
Pnawn da, good afternoon. I'm Amy Hutchins. I'm the Future of Work Strategy Manager.
Pnawn da, good afternoon. I'm Diane Hopkins. I'm the Principal HR Manager.
Hello everyone, I'm Lynn Doyle. I'm the Corporate Learning Training and Development Manager.
Thanks everyone. So I'm just gonna share my screen with you now. So bear with me a second. I think it's just coming. Can everybody see that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Fabulous. So let's get started. So as I've said, this is going to be an overview of the Council's Strategic Workforce Plan. So this was signed off at Personnel Committee in October last year. So we're a year into this strategy. The strategy itself was quite some time in development. So it wasn't a case of just writing a plan and issuing that to everybody and saying, there you are, here's the strategic workforce plan. We actually took about a year to develop this document. So we did extensive engagement. We held focus groups. We met with accountable managers. We carried out workshops with employees. We met with senior management teams. We really wanted to understand what was important to people at different levels across the council, to make sure that the priorities that are set out in this plan are the priorities that are going to deliver the workforce of the future. So we wanted to make sure that we were representing what was really important to people. The trade unions were also absolutely key to the development of this strategy. If you have an opportunity to go online and have a look at the strategy on the council's SharePoint, I would recommend that to you. What you'll also see is that we worked with a couple of external partners when we developed it. So Audit Wales gave us a lot of advice, guidance and support. They carried out a review of workforce planning arrangements just as we came out of the pandemic. They've also carried out a further review. We haven't had the formal feedback from that. I have had informal feedback, so I can tell you some of that as we go through the presentation. We also worked with the CIPD, who carried out a benchmarking exercise of our employment arrangements and looked at our people practices, and we've fed that feedback into the strategic workforce plan as well. So that's how we developed it. The strategic workforce plan itself has a very clear aim, and it's a very simple aim. We want to have the right number of people with the right skills and attitudes in place at the right time to deliver council services and functions. And we've also got two clear objectives. You can see the first objective is short, medium and long term. So we want to make sure we've got all the right workforce actions in place to make sure that we're implementing the corporate plan and that the strategic workforce plan is completely aligned to the corporate plan. And the more OD piece where we're embedding council priorities, vision and values. So that's more about the behaviour side of the workforce. To help us deliver the strategic workforce plan, I think it's really important that the council invested in some additional resources to bolster the people and OD service. So we created the Future of Work team. So that Future of Work team sit across several teams in the heart of people and OD. Amy, who you've met this afternoon, some of you will know her already, is the Future of Work team manager. And Amy heads up a small team of HR policy and practice officers, an OD officer who is supporting the training and OD activity, an engagement officer to make sure we're getting our internal comms right in relation to all of this. And really importantly, a seconded trade union officer is sitting within the team. So Lee was nominated by the joint trade unions, and Lee is there both to ensure that employee voice sits at the heart of everything that we're doing, but also so he can ensure that the trade unions themselves are kept abreast of what's happening, and they have a confidence around our arrangements, which is really important to us and our social partnership model of working. So the strategic workforce plan has 7 clear priorities. And I'm going to run through all of those priorities with you. So I won't read this list out to you. I'll just give you a minute or so to have a look at it. So the first priority then, resourcing Team Neath for Talbot. So this is all about ensuring that we can recruit and retain the best employees to help us deliver our services. It was very clear to us in all the engagement and consultation that we took place that was undertaken to develop the strategic workforce plan, this was one of the key things that our managers were telling us, that they had concerns in relation to succession planning. So both in terms of replacing leavers in the immediate future, but also about the longer term and how they were going to ensure a steady supply of people in the future. So for some services, this is about volume recruitment. So if we take services like AMS, so catering and cleaning in schools, they have a large workforce with a steady turnover, and it is just about making sure we've got people attracted and recruited into those jobs on a very regular basis. With other services, they're looking at perhaps trickier challenges where we've got national shortages. So if we look in the Environment Directorate, engineers, architects, surveyors, we're competing with a private sector market. There's a national shortage anyway. We're competing against other councils. So that is a much harder task for us. So all of this was reflected into the strategic workforce plan by our managers. We've also been told by our managers that retaining employees is a challenge for them, again, particularly where we face competition from other employers. We've seen recently with social workers, councils will introduce golden handshakes, they'll apply market supplements, and then every employer in the market is seeking to match the same. So you're in a bit of an ever-ending treadmill of trying to attract employees. So one of the things we did in late 2021 was establish a recruitment task force. So the task force brought together people from across the council, so people from the People and OD service, so recruitment specialists, HR specialists, with engagement and marketing people, but also from other services like the employability service within education. So they are supporting people in our communities into work. They are developing them through programs to help them into work. There was a bit of a gap then because we weren't matching their program up with our need to recruit. So we've tried to bring that much closer together. We also invited external stakeholders to join the task force. So DWP, representatives from local universities and colleges, for example. The task force has been meeting on a regular basis since 2021. And put in place a range of actions. So from developing work placements, apprenticeship schemes, graduate recruitment, advertising on college notice boards. And we're also, we developed a relationship between Sutra and Swansea University, who are looking at developing a career pathway, linking the School of Engineering at Swansea University with Sutra. So the task force is focused on immediate actions to help with immediate recruitment difficulties, but also looking at more longer term actions to help with succession planning in the future. They've been attending recruitment fairs across the county borough. They coordinate social media posts relating to recruitment. They post vacancies on various job platforms to make sure that we have ultimate exposure for our vacancies. They've also done some quite innovative and creative work. So, for example, they've been talking to Swansea Prison and sharing our job vacancies with Swansea Prison. So they have an understanding of the skill sets that we're looking for, and they can help prepare people for release, potentially into jobs within the council. I must say, subject to safeguarding and all the rest of it, and that will be carefully managed in case anybody is slightly alarmed around that. They've also done some really nice work with the MPT BME Association to ensure that we are being seen as an inclusive employer and accessible to all parts of our community. So they've run some specific job fairs for the Neath Talbot BME Association, which have been really well received. I'm just going to stop at this point and see if there's anything Diane wants to add that I might have missed on the recruitment task force.
Just a couple of things, really. Where they're advertising all the jobs, they're trying to be more inclusive as well. So they've been posting the jobs on a variety of different jobs boards to attract the armed forces, the LGBTQ community, ex-offenders, as Sheena has already mentioned. And in addition to that as well, work has taken place to update the council's website. So I think you're going to see some videos next on it. So we're trying to make the website more inclusive as well. And it's 10 times better than it was, but we're not sitting there and resting on our laurels. We're currently reviewing the website based on what applicants have told us and what new starters have told us. So it's a continual process of reviewing what people are telling us and acting accordingly. So we've got the best kind of introduction into the council as possible.
Lovely, thanks, Diane. So yes, we are now going to show you the website. So I'm just going to stop sharing the presentation for a minute, and Amy is going to load the website for you to have a good look at it. So we'll firstly just show you the website itself. Bear with us 2 seconds. Okay, so we're just gonna play the video. I don't think the sound is. Okay, right. So we'll play the video next. So we're just gonna scroll down to give you a very brief overview of what the website itself looks like. You can see at the top we've got various tabs. So meet Team Neath Talbot, information about working at Neath Talbot, how we recruit. And then search and apply. We focused on key categories of jobs. We've tried to make the look and the feel as inclusive as possible and as clear as possible so people can instinctively find their way around it. So now we're going to play you the general video. So this should be the first video that people watch when they land on the site. Two seconds, it's just loading up. Sorry about this. Okay, so and next we're going to show you an example of one of the Meet the Team videos.
The new iPhone 15 Pro with titanium on the UK
Sorry, bear with us. We've got some technical itches. So we've got a range of Meet the Team videos on the website, which is something you can go in and look at yourself. We're going to play you an example now, which is of teaching assistants. So these are real members of staff who are giving a short overview of how they find working for Neath Talbot.
Hi, I'm Sasha and I'm a higher level teacher assistant in Abbey Primary School.
Hi there, I'm Kieran Morris. I'm 22 years old and I'm a teaching assistant at Ysgol Hendrefelen.
Hi, I'm Leanne Sandry and I work for Neath Talbot Council as a support worker and audiological technician.
Hello, my name is Diana Wanakram and I work for VLS, which is the Vulnerable Learner Service.
I've been working in Abbey Primary for over half my life. I didn't go to college. I wanted to do a vocational course instead. So I came to Abbey Primary on a placement and I never left.
I've been working at Ysgol Hendrefelen for around 2 years now. I got the job after I finished my sports science degree at Swansea University.
I've been in this current role working now 4 years coming June.
I have been working mainly in Sandfields Primary for almost 4 years now. The thing I love most about my job is the fact that you see the fruition of your labor term after term. You get to work with young minds, model them and support them to their formative years.
The thing I love the most about working in a school is definitely the children.
Progressing through is always a good point to the job.
Being able to support children and enable them to communicate and transition into schools and access the curriculum.
I have had amazing support to carry on my role, both from my manager and from the head teacher and staff in schools. I have been offered great opportunities to go on different projects and courses and training.
Since I've started, we've had the opportunities to go through a number of training, such as sensory circuits, safeguard training.
The things I love most about living in Neath Talbot is I live in a small community where there's lots of things on offer and support for the community.
The local history is very rich, which is why we love taking the children out on walks in the locality.
With my job, taking kids out to the park to give them life skills and stuff like that is always an amazing opportunity, and it's great to see for them.
For anyone that is thinking about applying for a role as a teaching assistant,
go for it.
Just go for it.
Go for it.
Go for it, because it is truly an impactful job that gives back so much to you.
Great, thank you, Amy. So I'm just going to reshare my screen again and go back into the presentation. If the video is a little bit jumpy for those of you who have, are logged in from home, I'd really recommend that you go on, have a look at the Council's recruitment site. There's a range of videos from members of staff. We haven't told any of them what to say. We've just asked them to do a video, and actually it's really nice to hear what people have to say about us as an employer. Certainly in my job, often people are telling me all the things that they think are wrong. But actually, there are an awful lot of employees out there who've got really good things to say about us as an employer. And we're trying to show that through the website. So we're trying to rebrand Neath Talbot as an employer. And say to both our internal workforce and people who don't work for us yet, we are a good employer. We do have really good employment policies and practices in place. We do care about our workforce as well. So we're really trying to get that message across. So as Diane says, the website is a work in progress. I think it's really nice. But you know, we're going to continue to work on it and continue the marketing to people. I can see that there's a hand up. Councillor Sean Percy wants to come in, Chair.
When you're ready to come in, Sean, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Diolch. I just want to make a comment really, and just to say that I've noticed the difference in particularly the way the jobs have been listed and how that's improved over the last few years. I remember previously it wasn't even possible to easily link somebody to a job. If you search for a job on the council website and wanted to send it to somebody, it was an absolute nightmare. And that works a lot better now. It's all much slicker. And yeah, I've seen a lot of the stuff on social media as well. The videos, we've massively upped our game, and it really does show. So I just wanted to make those comments, Chair. Diolch.
Oh, thanks, Councillor Percy. That's really nice feedback to have. And yes, certainly we are throwing everything at it. So I'm glad that you've seen that. So that's what we have in place in terms of recruitment. But what impact is all of that having? What we've established within the HR team is a new people and data analytics team, which is being managed by Lauren Margetson, who is logged on from home this afternoon. Now, what Lauren is trying to do is start looking at our data in a different way. Measuring data and starting to look at trends in terms of employment. We're at the very early days of this, and it is a work in progress. But Lauren is going to take you through the next few slides now to show you what impact we think all this activity is starting to have in terms of recruitment. So Lauren, I'll hand over to you. If you just tell me when you want me to move the slide on.
Yeah, will do. Thanks, Sheena. Prynawn da, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Lauren Margetson. So I'm just going to take you through the next 4 slides now, really, just to display really the impact the recruitment side of things have had on us as an employer recruiting, and also us as an employer of choice as well. So from the first slide that you can see on your screens, this is linked obviously to the objective displayed at the top. So obviously we've done 3 things by introducing the task force themselves, introducing the iTrent recruitment model, which was far more sort of synced and less clunky than our previous system. And also we've improved the recruitment interface, as you've just seen previously, massively. So, so what has this had on an impact? So based on what we've implemented, obviously we have had more external job adverts go out, which has helped massively, but we have seen a greater increase in applications. So in total, since before the plan was introduced and before the work took place, we are seeing a massive increase of 46%, 46% in applications from 2021 to 2023. So that is, a huge jump. And likewise then, for the actual appointments, we are seeing a huge jump then in appointments we're making, and it went up to 72% compared to what we had previously. And looking at the jobs that we've actually recruited to, in 2023, we actually recruited to 91% of jobs that we advertised. So that was really, really positive. And, we are filling a big chunk of the roles that we are advertising. So that was all really good, positive news. Sheena, can you move the slides on, please? So based on what we see in the recruitment side of things, what are our employees saying about us, or what are past and previous employees? So from a recruitment experience point of view, I did look at some data that we gathered on what people think of the new and improved recruitment website and interface. And as you can see, that it was relatively all positive, good or very good reviews. We did have a few recommendations or feedback from improvements. And as Diana said previously, we have taken those away, and how we can improve the website and the application process. So we've taken those, and we're currently looking at improving them going forward. The actual reviews then of us as a council, as an employer, the reviews are all shown on the screen for you, and these are all taken from Neath Talbot website, Glassdoor and Indeed reviews. So we are looking at, we're a very good employer, we have supportive line management, we have good hybrid working and work-life balance schemes that people adopt. And we have a good holiday and sick pay, so excellent benefits and incentives that we have to offer to people. And I did some comparison with competitors, so Swansea and Bridgend were our neighbouring authorities, and looking at average reviews of council ratings as an employer online, we are actually ranked the highest employer with neighbouring authorities, so that was really positive as well. So I thought it'd be really useful to show you those and the impact the plan is actually having on us as an employer of choice. Next slide, please. So I thought delve deeper into that then and look at sort of what our turnover rates are, and our turnover from 21-22 to 22-23 has crept up slightly, as you can see, but that is mainly down to some temporary labour that we recruited during the pandemic, where they've slowly been leaving the authority. So we were expecting to see a slight increase because of that. But then when you look at our competitors and how we stack up against those, we haven't had a big increase compared to the likes of Swansea and say Cardiff. So we are looking in a better position in regards to our turnover. We don't seem to be losing as many staff as compared to other local authorities. And Newport in particular, I know have had a real big problem in retaining staff, and I know their agency spend is humongous because they can't attract and they can't retain their current staff on a permanent basis. So, we do have some hard to fill areas, which the succession planning will obviously help out with, but we could be, a lot worse. Next slide, please. So my last slide I'm going to show you is in regards to, we do have some levers. So what's happening with the levers? So I thought I'd do a comparison of levers over the last 4 financial years. And we did see a dip in 2021 because of the pandemic. But on a whole, the resignation reason in reported in our HR system is down 30% since the Future of Work plan was introduced. And likewise, the promotion, people leaving due to promotion opportunities elsewhere is also down 22% since the plan was introduced. So that does show that less people are leaving us of their own accord, and less people are leaving to go to opportunities elsewhere. What I will say is that the leaving reasons in our HR system are being redeveloped. They're being assessed and improved, so that we won't just have a standard reason of resignation. We want to look at why have they resigned? Is it because of opportunities elsewhere? And if it is elsewhere, where? So we are looking at, we're doing a piece of work at the moment on reviewing these leaving reasons. So hopefully when we come back again, we'll have more clear and concise knowledge and data of who our competitors are and why. And I'll hand back to Sheena. Thank you.
Thanks, Lauren. Nice to see you. So that's the first priority in the strategic workforce plan. The second priority is developing and retaining talent. And one of the key actions set out in the delivery plan is to embed operational service level workforce planning via the succession planning toolkit. So when it comes to, sorry, sorry, Chair. Councillor Clark, do you want to come in?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask about this. Your when people are leaving, are you doing exit interviews? Are you discussing their reasons? And are you collecting the data on that? I'm assuming that that's what you were saying that is going to happen. But I think that's really important. Is there a pattern in certain job roles or certain departments of people leaving?
Are you happy for me to take that, Sheena?
Yes, Lauren, if you're happy to take it.
Yeah, of course I am. Yeah. To answer your question, Councillor, we do have an exit questionnaire in place. And they are being analysed. But what we're trying to do, myself and Amy, as part of the plan, is to improve that process. So we want to redesign and look at our exit questionnaire to get the information off our employees as they leave in, so we can use that data then in a meaningful way. And likewise, we're hoping to conduct a survey on our staff who are actually employed as well, so we can use the two together to look at our exit reasons and the comments that we get in from those exiting the organisation, but also offset that against the people who are staying as well. So yeah, that is something that we do currently do, and we are looking to improve the service going forward as well.
Councillor Clark, are you happy with the response from Lauren?
Yes, thanks.
Many thanks for that. Councillor Richards, do you want to come in with a question?
Yeah, diolch yn fawr, Cadeirydd. Apologies, my camera's off. I'm full of flu at the moment. First and foremost, I'd really like to commend the excellence of this presentation thus far. It is truly impressive how sort of every question I thought of at the beginning, you've all answered seamlessly, and the breadth of topics covered indicates that this is indeed a comprehensive and well-structured strategic plan. Also, very quickly, congratulations also goes to Neath Talbot Council for being awarded the prestigious Fair Play Employer accolade, and a massive well done to everyone across the council, but especially to all of you in HR, because you play have outstanding efforts in championing equality, and it's really pleasing to see that that's been recognised and celebrated. My question to you, Lauren, is, and again, a fantastic analysis was done throughout. The increase in job adverts is substantial. What factors do you attribute to this? And also, whilst the number of job adverts has increased, how has the quality of the applicants been impacted? Have you noticed a difference there?
I can certainly comment on the first aspect. Like the reason that they've increased so significantly is the change into the recruitment and selection rules around advertising. So previously, because we were budget constraints, we were trying to redeploy people internally, so we weren't having that external approval only for certain roles that were hard to fill to go out external to the general public. That changed. And more jobs were advertised externally, and we've seen then a greater increase then in roles being advertised in general. The quality of the applications, is there anybody in the chamber who are able to comment on that?
Thanks, Lauren. Councillor Richards, and thank you for your comments as well. I'm really grateful for them. I was going to pick up the Fair Play Employer Award, and when we come to the workforce priority around equalities and inclusion, so I will say something more about it. But thank you for your feedback. Diane's going to come in on the point about the quality of applicants. Thank you.
Thanks, Sheena. Only to say, Councillor Richards, that it's really difficult for us in HR to give you a definitive answer, but 91% of our jobs are getting filled that we're putting out. So I'm assuming that there is a good quality of applicants. And I think that we can say that because we're spreading the word about working at Neath Talbot more wider, which is what we discussed earlier. You know, we're going on all these websites, we're making connections with different organisations. And we're just putting it out there more than we have done. And that was because we had the additional funding for the recruitment task force. So that's why we were able to make all these connections. So whilst I can't say 100%, yes, we are. The number 91% jobs getting filled, I think we can kind of assume that the quality is good.
Great, diolch yn fawr, thank you.
Okay. So thanks for those comments. So back to developing and retaining talent. So I'm going to focus on the succession planning toolkit. It's really important to understand that workforce planning, succession planning happen at different levels within an organisation. So there are actions we can put in place at a corporate strategic level. So we've got the strategic workforce plan, we've got the activity around recruitment across the council. But it's also really important that workforce planning takes place at a service manager level as well. So what we devised was what we call a succession planning toolkit. So the succession planning toolkit is there to help line managers understand what the issues are for them in terms of succession planning. So to take a good look at their workforce, understand where they may have skill gaps now or in the future, look at how they're going to develop people within their workforce to move up the ranks within their team, and then consider what actions they need to take in order to do that. So I've already referred to Audit Wales, who've had a good look at our workforce planning processes. So what they've told us is that at a strategic level, our workforce planning processes are robust. So they are good, they are effective. But what they did tell us is that we need to do more to embed the service manager level workforce planning. Now we did know that. So we launched the succession planning toolkit in the February of 2020, which wasn't great timing. So understandably, there was very little take up of the succession planning toolkit for the first couple of years of the pandemic. So when Audit Wales came out to have a look, they could see that there was very low take up. So that's why they came up with this recommendation. So what we've really focused on through the strategic workforce plan is how we can embed the succession planning toolkit, how we can ensure that our managers have the right skills in place in order to use it. So the toolkit itself is quite simple. It's not an overly long document. It's quite straightforward, and there's 5 key steps, which begin with data collection. And actually, Lauren and her team provide the data to every manager to help them with this. So they provide them with all the information that they will need in relation to their particular part of the workforce. The second stage is to identify business critical jobs. So business critical jobs are the jobs that is what it says in the tin. They're the jobs that the council needs to have in place to ensure the delivery of our services to citizens. And the business critical jobs are the jobs that we need to make sure we've got successors in place and have an action plan around them. The third stage is an assessment of current employees. So looking at, do they have the right skills and qualifications for the job they are in? And are we developing the skills and qualifications they'll need for business critical roles as part of a succession plan? The fourth stage is looking at future needs. So that's perhaps looking at external factors, so perhaps changes in legislation, changes in technology, budget changes, and making sure that their team, their skill sets are keeping a pace with all of that. And then the final stage is really writing up an action plan. Now, what we're not expecting managers to do is solve all their problems in one succession plan. What we advise them to do is focus on what are their most critical needs now and write an action plan around that. So we're really trying to encourage our managers to get going with succession planning. What we put in place to help managers was 3-hour workshops delivered at numerous locations throughout the county borough. So actually 7 workshops were delivered throughout September and October 2022, and 64 managers attended. Some heads of service also attended. We created a number of video tutorials along with staff case studies, managers who had already completed a succession planning toolkit. They did a short piece about their experience of doing it to help others. So these are all available online. So as well as attending the workshop, managers can go on and look at the online tools. The plan at the workshop wasn't to teach people how to do a succession plan. It was more to lead them through the process and encourage them to do it, and also to share with each other any particular workforce problems that they're experiencing and perhaps work together to come up with solutions to them. Now, included in the presentation slides is a link to one of the videos. I'm not going to play it for you now because it's about 5 minutes long, but it gives you a really nice overview of what the succession planning toolkit is. So if you have a spare 5 minutes, you can go on and watch that, and hopefully you'll find that useful. So in terms of progress to date, 37 plans have been completed, and 235 business critical jobs have been identified. Now that's obviously, that doesn't cover the whole organisation yet. So in terms of what we plan to do next, the first thing we plan to do is go through the succession plans themselves. So the ones that have been returned, it's really important that we pull out anything we could put in place at a corporate level to support our managers. So a number of the actions will be things that managers themselves can put in place that they don't need support around, but they have described some issues where they do need some support and help, and particularly where we're seeing common themes and threads. We might be able to step in and do something corporately around them. So that's our first action. The second thing we want to do is actually review the succession planning toolkit itself. So we've had feedback from managers, and we think that we can actually make the toolkit easier for managers to complete. So that's one thing that we are going to do, is review the toolkit itself. And then finally, we want to increase the number of completed plans. So I've referred to the fact that Audit Wales have been back out again to look at workforce planning. What they said to me was, oh, so you've only just over 50% of managers have now completed a succession plan. What I said to them is, that's 50% more than last time you came out. So I actually think that's progress. I think we're making progress. It's the first year of running it. And I think managers are starting to find it a useful exercise. And the more we can reflect back to them that if they fill these plans in, we're actually going to use them to inform our workforce planning, to inform corporate actions. And if they can see things are changing as a result of completing the succession plan, then hopefully that will give them more confidence to invest their time in it. That is what we're doing on succession planning. So I'm going to move on to one of the next priorities. I'm not going to spend as long on the rest of the presentation. I can see Councillor Richards. Councillor Richards, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, apologies, me again. There was quite a high number there that were deemed business critical. I'd probably like to know a little bit more about what is deemed business critical and the reasoning behind their selection. But how does what sort of criteria as well is being used to assess if employees have the necessary skills and qualifications to transition into business critical roles, and what strategies or programs are in place to ensure employees sort of acquire required qualifications for their succession as well, please.
Okay, so those are quite big questions, Councillor Richards. So in terms of how we're asking managers to assess business critical, so I suppose the way we've described business critical to our managers is to define the jobs that they need to have in place in order to deliver services. So services won't be able to run without those post holders in place. The reviewing the plans has suggested to us that perhaps we need to give more guidance to managers in determining business critical roles. So you can see in some services that they will have a few business critical roles defined, but in other services they've listed every job. So we do need to do a little bit more work around that. That's still okay. I think the fact that they're still thinking about planning their future workforce, you know, those principles and getting those actions embedded, it's still good work. But I think we can refine the toolkit itself, and I think managers will naturally get more used to doing this as well. So it definitely is a work in progress. In terms of how they assess the skills and qualifications, so what we do suggest to managers is they link in with our learning, training and development team. There are national occupational standards which we can refer to, which will set out the qualifications framework for different professions and occupations. There are job families within the council which have more developed frameworks. So social services in particular has an absolutely excellent career framework in place. But the learning, training and development team are there to provide that advice and guidance and support to managers to help them with the kinds of qualifications that they need to develop. One of the slides that we're going to come on to is in relation to what we're trying to do on learning and development. So when we get to that slide, Lynn will talk to you a little bit about the career development pathway that we're hoping to put in place. So that will give you a bit more information around that. So if it's okay, I probably won't say much more about that, Councillor Richards, if that's enough for now.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, right. So this next slide, so the next priority is the council wants to be seen as an employer of choice. So this is looking at employee experience and engagement. So what I've done is list our current job offer. So this is an overview of what our employees can expect in terms of employment. So I'm going to just give you a minute to read through that. Okay, and what I'm going to show you on the next slide is the new initiatives that the Future of Work team have been working on to enhance our offer. So we've had a carers policy and the Employers for Carers support platform in place now for around about 6 months, I think, Lynn. So that's up and running, and that's there and available to support our employees who may be carers or who are supporting carers. We've implemented the TUC Disability Passport Scheme. We have approval for the electric vehicle salary sacrifice scheme, and that's something that will be coming on board soon. So that's a really cost-effective way of employees being able to purchase cars. We've also just recently had approval for the financial wellbeing strategy. So that strategy is aimed at supporting our employees manage their finances better and more effectively, signposting them to avenues of support. But linked to that, we will shortly be launching the salary finance platform. So that is a platform that employees can go onto and get a very wide range of support and help. One of the things they will be able to do is opt for to draw down part of their salary in the month before payday. It's quite a controlled thing, so they can't just have all of their salary. It's a proportion of the salary, and they can only do it so many times a year. Now, what we're working on at the moment is the parameters around that. So there'll be more information available on that soon. They'll be able to save money through the salary finance platform, and there's another range of benefits that are available through it. We will also shortly be launching an employee assistance programme, and again that provides a range of benefits, but really importantly 24/7 access to counselling support, and it's a range of counselling support. So that can be face-to-face, it can be online, it can be via text or telephone, and it is 24/7. So employees don't have to go via the occupational health unit, they don't have to tell their manager, they can simply access that when and where they need it. We recently reviewed the special leave scheme, so we've expanded our offer around special leave. And we've been working hard on the menopause policy and action plan. That's quite a well publicised initiative, so I won't say too much more about that at the moment. Things that are underway, so we've reviewed our acting up and honorarium payments. Those are schemes that are in place to recognise where employees are doing a bit more, but they haven't been reviewed since 2006. So that's obviously quite a considerable time ago. So we're in the process of reviewing them. We're developing a volunteering scheme that's linked to the Special Police Constable scheme that you'll have seen on the previous slide. So we're hoping to expand our volunteering offer. And sorry, just bear with me, my voice seems to be going. Amy is in the process of setting up a school wellbeing group. So that's pulling together representatives across our schools, but also with the teaching trade unions and the Green Book support staff representing trade unions to look at the well-being of our school employees and really trying to engage them in some of the corporate support that we have available. Amy's been working hard at publicising Viva Engage and the SharePoint platform to schools because up until recently they weren't able to access it. So now they can access it. We want to make sure they are accessing it and that they start to access the full range of benefits that we have available for them. So as things like the Employee Assistance Programme and the Salary Finance come on board, we want to make sure that all parts of our workforce are accessing it. We're developing an annual employee engagement survey. And that's really important because that will put employee voice at the centre of everything we're doing. So we're planning to launch that next spring. And when we do launch that, it will be an annual exercise, and that will help us track what our employees think and feel about their experience at work, and we'll be able to tell you more about that. We're also reviewing notice periods, and this is something that's very much come from feedback that we've had from managers and concern that the majority of council employees have a notice period of 1 month. So when people leave, it doesn't give them a very long time to replace them. So one of the things they've asked us to do is start a conversation with our trade unions about their appetite to extend the notice period. We will, of course, be talking to elected members as we go through that. Right, so the next priority is around developing the future of work. So this very much came from the pandemic and the experience in the pandemic of many employees working at home and or working in quite different ways. And as we came out of the pandemic, we put in place at first what was a temporary or interim hybrid working framework. What we committed to doing as part of the strategic workforce plan was reviewing the hybrid working framework. So we have done that. So we reviewed it via employee survey, focus groups with employees and with accountable managers. We changed the hybrid working framework as a result of that feedback, and we have now confirmed that in place. Now, that's not to say it's set in stone. We will continue to look at the hybrid working framework. Technology is changing all the time. My own thinking is that we are at the start of the next kind of industrial revolution, and we're going to be evolving how we work for some time to come. So we need to see this as a changing picture. One of the things our managers told us very clearly when we were speaking to them in developing the strategic workforce plan was that they felt some of our processes were unnecessarily bureaucratic. So we were able to take some quick wins. So there were some really obvious policies that we could change very quickly and make them less bureaucratic. There was some processes where accountable managers had to then seek authority from heads of service before they could undertake what are quite simple employment actions. One example is around applying for eye tests. So we were very quickly able to move to change that, to strip out that bureaucracy. And as we review all our policies and processes now, we are putting them under that kind of lens to make sure that we haven't put things in that are too prescriptive, and that we are empowering managers to take decisions that are right for their services. We've put in place quite extensive training to help managers manage in the new hybrid world. What we've done so far is, day-long events. We've put on a range of different day-long events. What we are planning to do, and Lynn will talk to you more about it, is a more comprehensive management and leadership development program. But we have put in place measures just to get managers up and running as they try and deal with this new world of working. We are in the process of confirming new working arrangements to every employee. So every employee will have a confirmed working style. So whether they are a fixed base worker, whether they're agile, whether they're a community worker, or whether they're a hybrid worker. And really importantly, we're hoping to establish a working group for those whose jobs don't obviously lend themselves to hybrid working. So, for example, people who drive buses, or people who litter pick, or who work in our schools, or work in the refuse service. What we are hoping to do is create this working group and look at how we can introduce more choice and flexibility into their job roles as well. We don't want it to be seen as something that is just exclusively for office workers. We want our workforce to be as inclusive as possible and to feel as fair as possible. And what some of our frontline workers are telling us is that they don't feel it's fair. So we want to try and right that balance and see what it is we're able to do for them. So the next slide is around knowledge and skills development. So I'm going to hand over to Lynn Doyle, our Learning, Training and Development Manager at this point.
Thank you, Sheena. I'm never going to be able to follow all of that, but I just thought I'd give you sort of like an overview really of what the Learning, Training and Development team do as part of the future work strategy and the workforce plan, and also linked to other sort of priorities, across the council. So the training team are a well-established team, and we've got a comprehensive training program that is available for almost all services across the council. The only one exception at the moment is mainly education. Training for schools is done within the school specifically. We've been, since COVID, we've been trying to work we work in a different way and a hybrid approach, and as you know, more learning skills, training is done now via e-learning. So as part of this, we've been sort of trying to develop the digital skills of the training team as well. So now, when you go onto the intranet and under the HR pages, training development, you'll see our training program now is in the form of an ebook. So it's quite exciting stuff. So each page you click and then it talks about the individual service area and what training is available. Linked to that as well is all the links for the mandatory training. We've talked briefly today about things like safeguarding, and this, along with other courses, violence against women, domestic abuse, sexual violence, general data protection, and a number of others are mandatory for all employees of the council. So the links are there for people to access them. And we are also now looking at developing face-to-face alternatives to help those people as well in the services where perhaps the target numbers are a bit lower, and how we can get them to complete the training. So linked to that, within the team and within the ebook, you'll see that there is a link to, we have an internal qualification centre within the team as well. Now, that team is primarily responsible for delivery of qualifications in the social care sector, because I'm sure you're aware that the majority of our training budget is grant funded via Social Care Wales and via Welsh Government for the delivery of training for the social care sector. And not only do we have responsibility for training council staff, but we also need to support our external care providers within Neath, Talbot, well, in fact, across the region, Neath, Talbot and Swansea, to ensure that they have the necessary skills and competence to deliver safe care. So, that's a big important part of our role. But what we are doing now is, as part of the Future of Work strategy, is trying to extend that offer of management and leadership qualifications. And linked to that, Councillor Richard, you mentioned about the succession plans and business critical posts, and the team are working with the managers to help identify these posts. What is it that we need to perform in our services effectively, and that's difficult, isn't it? Because I'm sure I would, as a manager, say all my team are essential for me to function effectively. But then we try and give examples then of, okay, so if somebody was to leave, would we have to have somebody in place today with those qualifications? And the examples I would use as business critical are things like social workers. So we know that to be practicing social worker, you have to have a social work degree. End of story. That is a business critical post. So for those posts may be of a more administrative nature, then what we try and do then as part of this succession planning pathway is to introduce apprentices. Now, historically, we've been very successful in Neath, Talbot, and even prior to that, on the recruitment and retention of modern apprentices, and them going into, we've got a number of them now in quite senior posts across the council. So we are trying to increase, as part of this Future Work, as part of Grow Your Own succession planning, increase the number of modern apprentices. And, they do come with a cost. So the team have recently submitted a bid for the Shared Prosperity Fund to increase the number of apprentices. So I'm just waiting to hear on that every day. So fingers crossed, please, everybody, that is a success. So that's one example. It's business critical posts is domiciliary care or home care workforce. We have a framework in place to tell us what are the qualifications that these people need to do their job. So it's my team's responsibility to make sure that they have the training, have the qualifications, and they're able to register with Social Care Wales. What we don't have at the moment, apart from in social services, is that management development pathway for people. So there's a career grade from start to finish. So it could be that they would need for their roles, an essential qualification would be an NVQ3, and they would progress up then I say NVQ, but it's now called Qualification Credit Framework, but it means the same thing. So the management pathway, so that's what we're trying to help people is to put in place as part of the succession planning. So as part of the wider performance management for the council, what is it that we need? So from recruitment, if people do not have the qualifications in place, how do we help them to work towards getting them? At induction, up until now, for a number of years, we've only had an induction checklist for managers. For various reasons, our previous face-to-face programme called Let's Talk, we've now relaunched it. So we've had a number of face-to-face inductions so far, and we're in the process of developing a manager induction. So, you know, what's it like to be a manager in Neath Talbot? What is the corporate plan about? What are the corporate priorities? How are they linked to what I do? And then start to identify from day one what training is needed to put in place. So all of this work, I think, will make it easier then for managers to complete the succession plan. It's new for us all. But we are, you know, working with, as part of the Future Work team, we wouldn't certainly have been able to do all of this if we'd not had the commitment to this particular work and to help the managers really. So there's lots going on. Somebody mentioned as well the recent award, and well done to Sheena and everyone in HR from what I take. But there's also another scheme that we are part of, Meant to Be. And Amy and there's a lead in on this where we have volunteers that work with sort of mentors and mentees to enable those to help with their career progression, you know, so having those one-to-ones with training as well provided to support them. So I don't know if I covered enough or if there's any questions.
That's great. Oh, thank you, Lynn. Thanks, Lynn. So there's a lot going on in training and development. I'm sure Lynn could talk to us all day about it. So we've got 2 more priorities to cover. So we're nearly at the end of the presentation. So the penultimate priority is creating a safe workplace and supporting the health and well-being of our employees. We've got a number of actions in relation to supporting the health and well-being of our employees. I've already talked to you about the Employee Assistance Programme, which I think is going to be a really big boost for the health and well-being of employees across the council. We've had the partnership with Time to Change Wales, which Diane leads on. That's been in place for a number of years now. We take it very seriously here. So in some organisations, it's a commitment on paper. In Neath Talbot, we very actively review the action plan and link up with Time to Change Wales. We have our mental health champions in place across our workforce who also support us with that. Again, we have the menopause action plan, again, which is something which Diane has very much led on. And which is proving really popular with many of our employees. And we also provide training for our managers. So there's a range of training which links to health and well-being. So mental health first aid is one of the key pieces of training for managers, but we're also looking at increasing and changing the way in which we train managers around managing sickness. So managing sickness training is available every year for managers who need it, but we're looking at how we can link that more to the data at our fingertips and start working with managers in perhaps a more proactive way as part of that training. So I'm not going to say anything more about health and well-being. So moving on to the final priority, which is an inclusive workplace where all employees can be themselves. So we do have a good track record in terms of our equality and inclusivity offer. And thank you to Councillor Richards for mentioning the Fair Play Employer Award. I mean, it's lovely to receive an award. Who doesn't like an award? That's a great thing. But the point of it is we are trying to change the rhetoric around what we are as an employer. We're trying to ensure that our employees within the council and prospective employees understand that we are a fair employer, that we really do strive to put in place actions to help our workforce and to help our workforce be themselves. The work around the gender equality plan has focused on decreasing the gender equality gap, the pay gap. One of the key actions around that is the mentoring scheme that Lynn has referred to. The reason we devised that with Chwarae Teg was because we wanted to focus on low-paid women. We can see in our workforce that 97% of our lowest paid workers are female, and we wanted to right that balance. So the mentoring scheme has been devised with the aim of targeting low-paid women, but it is an inclusive offer, so all employees can access it. Initiatives that we develop as equality and inclusivity initiatives, whilst they may be targeting one particular aim, they will be inclusive offers to everybody, which I think is really important as part of our offer. The Ethnic Minority Employee Network was established over a year ago. So we had support from Unison's national Black member. So he supported us to set the group up, but they are now self-sufficient. So they've elected their own chair, and they now manage and run their own meetings, which is really important. We're using them as a reference group for developing employee initiatives, and we also hope to set up other employee networks. So we're looking next at whether there is interest in establishing an LGBTQ+ employee network and a disability employee network. Councillor Goldsworthy, did you want to come in at this point?
Yeah, sorry. Thanks for everything that has been said so far. But I'm just looking at your list for there. But I'm just wondering, have you done any work on any staff or staff with obviously traits of any neurodiverse conditions?
Thanks, Councillor Goldsworthy. That has been picked up in terms of our health and wellbeing work. So it's something that we'll be looking to bring on board in terms of the next iteration of the delivery plan. So there's a bit of a link to the Time to Change Wales action plan, but it's not specifically mental health. So we are planning actions in terms of the next iteration of the delivery plan. So we'll be able to share that with you in the next few months.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. So just finishing this final slide off. So we've talked about the career mentoring for low-paid women, the disability passport scheme, and we've also been trialling anonymised application forms. And I know that's something that one or two of you have been asking me about for a few years. Because we've had the new iTrent employee database, that has enabled us to do it for the first time. So we have been piloting that. There's a lot of evidence that can really support some disadvantaged groups into employment and to help them perform better through recruitment processes. So that's something that we've been really pleased to do. So in terms of what next, so that's an overview of the strategic workforce plan and really a summary of everything that we've done in the first year of operation. What we're planning to do now is to review the priorities that are set out in the plan. So to make sure that those priorities are still fit for purpose, that they are aligned to the corporate plan, that they are still the things that the council needs us to deliver. We're setting up a series of focus groups. We'll be speaking to accountable managers at the end of November. So we're bringing them together as a group and we'll talk to them and get feedback from them. And we'll be doing that with management teams as well. And all of that will help us develop the next iteration of the 24-25 delivery plan, which we will share with you before the end of the current financial year. So that is the end of the presentation. I'm ever so sorry. It was a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. I told the chair that probably half an hour to 45 minutes. So I do apologise. And are there any questions? Councillor Richards?
Great, diolch yn fawr, diolch Sheena. I do just, it's not really a question, but I just want to say the comprehensiveness of this strategy is excellent. It covers a wide range of areas from talent development to workforce planning. Is underpinned by sort of specific actionable steps outlined in the succession planning toolkit. And I really think this approach ensures that succession planning is not merely theoretical, but really grounded in practical methods for identifying and developing talents. From addressing data collection, job assessments, skills evaluation, future needs, scenario planning. The strategy, it was excellent strategy that accounts for a real holistic view of talent development, but also continuity as well. So I really praise you all because it really reflects a proactive stance in preparing the workforce to adapt to evolving conditions and challenges, as you mentioned, but really demonstrating a commitment to the organisation's long-term success. So fantastic. And also, just to finish, the combination of the new initiatives and the existing programmes that the council now offers or will be offering shortly, I don't want to underestimate, it is truly remarkable and it does really place us among the leading employers in the corporate world as well. So a fantastic piece of work that's been done and huge kudos to all of you.
Thank you, Councillor Richards. That's really lovely feedback. The team work incredibly hard, I have to say, and are very passionate about what they do. I think hopefully that's come across to you this afternoon. They really care about this work, so put their heart and soul into it. They're very creative as well, so they're really good at coming up with new initiatives. So thank you, and we'll pass that back to the wider team as well. Thank you.
Diolch yn fawr, thank you, and more awards to come, I think. Diolch yn fawr.
Councillor Llewellyn, do you want to come in?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. With your indulgence, just very, very quickly, because I think Anthony has summed up very well and much more eloquently than I could what I would have said. So I don't want to add, I don't want to extend the discussion, but I just want to thank Sheena and all the team for today's presentation, but obviously all the work that's gone behind it and the development of the strategy. I know the strategies come before us in different scenarios in recent months, but it's always worth hearing again because it's so relevant to what we're trying to achieve and so relevant to our workforce. So diolch yn fawr iawn, Sheena, to you and all the team.
Thank you, Councillor Llewellyn. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Deputy Leader. Councillor Goldsworthy, do you want to come in?
Yeah, just a quick one. Recently, I actually attended the menopause workshop, and online, and I have to be honest, there was a lot of things that lots of women said on there that were key, obviously, to their working day and how it affects them and everything else. What I would like to see is a lot of you men in here now and beyond this committee actually get behind that as well, because I'm sure you all understand it with your wives, your mothers and things like that. It is a big thing, and it is a big thing for us women when we get to a certain age. So I'm just obviously pleading now for you all to get behind the menopause and start sort of supporting that too.
Thanks, Councillor Goldsworthy. Just to say that we have offered workshops as safe spaces specifically for men. So if there are questions they want to ask that they might feel that they don't want to ask in front of other women, so we do offer that support for men as well. So yeah, it is really important. It's something everybody should be interested in. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheena. Another question in the chamber. It's the leader from Sand.
Thank you, Chair. Charlotte, I think you're probably aware that Jeremy Hurley wore a menopause vest in a workshop recently. I was supposed to be there. I think I dodged a bullet there, but that goes out saying. But I can assure you that we are 100% behind the menopause scheme as men, and we look forward to making sure it's highlighted in the right way through officers and ourselves, so that we do get behind it. And when I get to Cabinet, I was going to briefly touch on, because Swara Teig actually highlighted the meant to be monitoring scheme and the menopause action plan. They were highlighted in the awards. So the council fully behind the work that's needed to highlight the menopause programme, and that's not going anywhere soon. So, but thank you for that, Charlotte. 100% support. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank Sheena, Amy, Dan, Lauren, Lynn, and the team, and members at home. Thank you for your patience in the early part of the presentations whilst they loaded. But yeah, with some technical gremlins in the chamber, which have sorted themselves out now. Are there any more questions that members would like to bring up to the officers?
There's no questions, Chair. You can move.
Thank you, Alison. Now going to remind you that this report is for noting. Moving on to agenda item 5, which is pre-decision scrutiny, and to confirm that we're not scrutinising anything from the Cabinet agenda today. On to agenda item 6, which is our forward work programme. And again, this item is for noting unless members have any comments. Thank you.
I can see no indications from any members, Chair.
Thank you, Alison. Moving on to agenda item 7. These are urgent items. I can confirm there are none. And due to us not scrutinising any private Cabinet board papers, therefore I'd like to bring this meeting to a close. Thank you all for your attendance. Safe journey home from the chamber, and at home, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.